Yeah.
All
Countdown
right.
clocks and things like that.
Yeah.
The
Well,
countdown
welcome
cl
to. Oh, I think we're live, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't
Oh, that's okay. Well, welcome to It's a Crime. I'm your host, Margaret McLean. I am lucky today. Actually, you guys, this is my first real live stream, and I'm very lucky today to have with me my special guest, Kevin LENIHAN. And he knows more about the Karen Read trial, which is what we will be discussing, than anyone. And he's the author of Storm of Suspicion, the Karen Read murder trials. It's a great book if you love the topic, which we all seem to, the nation does. He's also the creator and host of Yellow Cottage Tales. Thanks for being on with me, Kevin.
Hey, Margaret, thanks for having me. This is sorry, I misspoke at the beginning of your thing. I didn't
Oh,
realize it was live.
that's it's
Throughout.
we're being very casual here. You know, this is again my first live show, so I don't even know if we'll have any comments to answer. But you know what,
Okay.
I enjoy doing it. It's good practice.
People have been
So
messaging me what the name of your channel is so they can find it on YouTube because I had promised them today I'd be here. So what's the name of the channel again? So we can
it's a
all
crime
subscribe.
media.
It's a Crime Media. So it's all everybody that's watching as a fill in, and we'll do it a couple of times during the show. Let's go there. It's a Crime Media. All right.
Yep.
And make sure we all subscribe to it.
Thank you. Yeah, I need subscribers, all sorts of stuff. I'm not monetized yet, nor will I be for a while, I'm sure. But anyway, I love
I'm
talking
not
about
I'm
the
not
case.
I'm not finding it. It's a Crime
Okay.
Media. I found a show called It's a Crime, which is a huge, I guess, a really large show.
Yeah,
But
that's not me. My show is yeah, hold on.
It's a Crime Media.
Yeah, it's a crime at It's a Crime Media.
Yeah.
Did you find it yet?
No. Um,
It's a crime at It's a Crime Media. That's my
it's a crime
show.
at It's a Crime Media. I don't.
It's a crime at It's a Crime Media. Hmm.
I don't know how to find it. Um, but what's the name of the? That's the name of the YouTube channel.
Yeah, my YouTube channel. It's a crime at It's a Crime Media. Unless
Sorry.
YouTube kicked me off. That's okay. Well, anyway,
Um,
you can keep trying to find it. And just for people that don't know anything about the Karen Read trial, Karen Read is currently on trial and she's facing charges of second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and leaving the scene for striking and killing, well, you know, her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, during a blizzard, January 29th, 2022. She allegedly struck him and left him to die in the snow. The defense, however, is claiming this is all a big conspiracy, that Karen was dropping John off at a party at 34 Fairview. He went into the house, which was owned by a fellow Boston police officer, Brian Elbert, and something nefarious happened inside the house, possibly a fight, and John was incapacitated, and then his body was placed outside in the snow, and he was left to die. So the issue that I'd like to talk about is, did corrupt members of law enforcement plant evidence at the scene to frame Karen Read? And that's exactly what the defense is suggesting. So the evidence that we're talking about would be microscopic and larger pieces of taillight that were found in the snow in the corner of the property at 34 Fairview near a flagpole. So, and remember, it was a blizzard, so the state police had to use its CERT team to dig in the snow and find these pieces. And then they ultimately matched up those pieces with Karen Read's taillight, the rear passenger taillight on her Lexus SUV. So, Kevin, what are your thoughts? The issue is, do you think there would be enough time for corrupt members of law enforcement to plant evidence at the scene?
right. This was actually as I was in the summer of 2023, first spending months going down whatever I could find on this case to try to understand if there was a conspiracy theory, right? Or if a conspiracy was even possible. And of course, looking at things like 227, you're thinking, wow, there'd be no innocent explanation for that. And there did. Now, eventually, I felt I explained that somewhat satisfactorily to myself back then, now fully now. But there were still other mysteries that remain. But for me, one of the keys was solving the timeline here. Was it even possible for evidence to be planted? And it was probably around September of 2023 that I finally was able to figure out where that Lexus was all day. And once all the gaps were closed, and I realized there was just no time for evidence to be planted, then there was really not a lot of reason to try to look into whether the troopers had any motive or whether, to do it, whether there was any weird evidence. And so, for as far as what I found out, was that the Lexus in the morning, so first Karen drove it from the crime scene after allegedly striking John to John's house, parked it inside the garage. Now, that's maybe the only time it wasn't really on surveillance, except when Karen was in it. Then at 5:08, she goes out looking for John, and she returns with Kerry Roberts and Jen McCabe following her.
Right.
And
She's
at that
returning
point,
to 34 Fairview.
yep,
For listeners that don't know the case.
right. Okay, so
Yeah.
she goes to 34. She goes to 34 Fairview and also to Jen McCabe's house, but she returns with the vehicle back to John's house at around 5:30.
Yep.
And it's parked in the driveway there, and that's where it remains until about noon or a little after that. It remains there under ring surveillance the whole time, and after that, Karen returns, and her dad drives the vehicle to Dighton, where again it's under camera surveillance in the driveway there, and that video is in evidence. So it's either briefly for a few hours, it's in the garage. That's the only time it's not under ring surveillance. It's in the garage at John's house. Then Karen's in the car going out looking for John. Then it comes back and it's parked in the driveway at John's house again, where it's under ring surveillance. Then later in the day, it's driven to Karen's parents' house, and that's where it remains until it's towed back to Canton. And by the time it gets back to Canton, it's too late.
Okay, so Karen's parents' house. Karen's parents live in Dighton, Mass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was towed. Do you remember what time it was towed from Dighton to Canton and the details surrounding that?
So it left around 4:30, and we know I think it was 4:18. We can see it being put onto the tow truck at 4:18 in the tow truck in Dighton. It arrives at the Sally Port outside of it at 5:31, which is on surveillance video outside the police station. The Sally Port is part of the Canton Police Station, and then it's pulled into the Sally Port at 5:36, and that's also on surveillance. The garage door to the Sally Port, because this is a bay where prisoners are brought in, it has to be ordered, open, and closed. They spend some time sweeping snow out, and we see it close at 5:41. And meanwhile, at the crime scene, the CERT team has started arriving just before 5 p.m. And the 7-man team fully arrives by a little after 5:30. They start shoveling before 5:30, and they're shoveling in a small area the size of 2 parking spaces. 7-man, shoulder to shoulder. Also, Lieutenant Tully is there. There's a WBZ news crew there. They're filming, and they find the main piece at 5:45. That's just minutes after the Sally Port door closes. And just the last piece in that is the Canton Police Station, where the Sally Port is about a 5-minute drive from the crime scene.
Okay. So, why did there was a difference between trial 1 and trial 2. So in trial 1, why did it make why was the defense, why did they have a stronger argument that there was enough time to plant evidence at the scene? There was some discrepancy there, right?
I don't believe there was. I mean,
Okay.
Sue O'Connell said that in the documentary. I have no idea what it was based on. In her defense, we could say this. I know I filmed twice for that documentary. Once was before the trial, and once was after the trial. So Sue may have recorded that clip that they used before the trial, before we knew the times. But certainly by the end of the trial, we knew the times, and there was no time to plant that evidence.
Okay. Well, there was a discrepancy with Proctor's police report, right? That he amended after?
So Proctor initially put down that it was the tow was at 5:30, and it was later amended to 4:30. Uh,
Okay.
it's not really a meaningful error in my view. I don't think,
Right.
that people will try to suggest that he was trying to deceive people, but the record is the record. I don't have to go by whatever his intentions were. I can go by the timeline. We know what time it was towed. We know what time it arrived, and we know what time those pieces were found.
Right. Okay. And what's up with what came up recently in the trial is the Dighton police officer, Nick Barrows. So, what is he claiming to have seen?
Yeah, so it's interesting. His
Yeah.
testimony, it may be too strong to say it was changed, but in the first trial, he said that the taillight was largely intact, cracked, and missing a piece. And now in this trial, what he's added to it is he's shown a picture by he's no, first of all, he's not called by the prosecution now, he's called by the defense.
Yeah.
And he seemed kind of eager to help the defense. And
Very.
they showed a picture of the taillight from the Sally port. Now this is where all the snow has been removed from it and everything. And then they said, "Is this what you saw?" And he said, "Absolutely not." You actually said that a couple points in there. And so what he was suggesting is that the missing piece that he saw was the size of 6 inches or maybe a dollar bill, but the missing piece that we saw in the photo was much larger than that. But when you look, I think Hank showed this. I think the prosecutor showed this in trial. Uh, the the picture of the Lexus in the Sally port, right next to juxtaposed next to a picture of the Lexus in the driveway at 8:22, taken by the dash cam of the police cruiser that showed up to do a wellness check at John's
Yep.
house, and it looks to be exactly from the same angle, and you
Yep.
can really see it. The damage is exactly the same, and so we have to understand that Barrows too is in the middle of a blizzard. Would It was really peak blizzard time at that time with blowing snow, and he's standing there in it's like 2 or 3 feet of snow in the driveway, and he's looking at a taillight that is covered with snow, and with the hole that's missing, the piece is missing, the internal housing would have been filled with snow, and he's not going to touch it, of course. So what did he, was he really able to get a good look?
Right.
So I'm not sure how reliable his testimony is, but
Yeah, and I thought that Brennan did a nice job during cross examination, showing him the photograph of right the SUV parked in John's driveway
right,
earlier on, and he got him to admit, is this what you saw? Is this what the taillight looked like? And he said, yeah,
right.
that's consistent with what I saw. So I thought that his testimony was destroyed during cross examination, but I feel like out in the cyberspace and the internet, people are celebrating his testimony. Is there any other reason why you'd celebrate the testimony if you're rooting for the defense?
I don't think they watched the cross.
I don't think they did
I,
either.
I mean,
Which that's what confuses me. It's like, okay, did
yeah,
I watch the wrong cross, the wrong
yeah.
trial?
Yeah, I don't think they did. But this is, as we've talked about privately, Margaret, and I've been consistent on this position on my show and on Court TV and other things. I always put eyewitness testimony that is not backed by other eyewitnesses or by physical evidence. To me, I always put that kind of low on the totem pole because item witnesses are very unreliable. Doesn't mean they're lying, but human memory is very flawed. It's prone to being manipulated or self-manipulated and there's just all kinds of problems with it. So this was clearly someone, well, I don't want to say clearly, but he seemed to be someone that wanted to help the defense. And we understand how it is in this case too. It's there's a desire for a lot of people to want to be popular with the crowd. So just something we got to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought the same thing with the driver Brian Loughran, Lucky Loughran.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he was doing his best. Okay, he was not lying. He got up there, and I agree with you I think that eyewitness testimony is not that reliable, but it's
Mhm.
also really not reliable when you're trying to say something wasn't there, right? It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much easier to remember something that was there. For example, that night, if the dumpster was on fire, you'd remember a dumpster fire,
Right.
but you're not necessarily going to remember something that wasn't there, even 2 weeks
Right.
later, even the next day. So
Right.
I also think that he's driving his plow. He's most likely looking straight ahead. And it had already started snowing at the time. Like I think you said that they start plowing when there's at least 2 inches of snow. He's not going to plow the dry
Right.
pavement. But then, is he really going to pay attention over to the left where where the body was ultimately found near the flagpole? There are a lot of other mounds of things there. There's all sorts of shrubs and certain
Mhm.
things. When covered with snow, it would also appear to be a mound. So I just I think the body was there, but he just didn't see it. Don't you
Yeah,
think?
and yeah, absolutely, and I've used it to talk about why, the other witnesses driving by didn't see it. So, if you
Mhm.
it's just the way our minds process vision and peripheral vision, stuff like that. So, if you were to drive right now in the middle of the day to the supermarket a couple miles away, and you're going through a residential area, there are thousands of objects that your mind, to some degree, is seeing. Bushes and shrubs and statues and all kinds of things out
Yeah.
there. But if all of that stuff was to be entered into your conscious mind, it would overwhelm you. It's
Oh,
just too much
yeah.
information. So
Yeah.
there's a part of your brain that is automatically filtering out what's important and what's not important. And that's it's going to be especially true at night when you're seeing just shadows and stuff like that. And so I think your brain is process if it looks at if it's something is moving, your brain is going to flag it. Something is moving here, and you'll turn towards it. And
Right.
you'll make a mental note. And that's gonna, like I said, that's gonna be even more at night. You're driving by. I mean, how many thousands of things do you drive by that are just shadows of boulders and different things? And
Yeah.
you wouldn't want your mind to process all of that information. It's too much,
Right, you might
you
see an
know.
animal at the edge of like a raccoon or something. Like
Yeah,
I'd remember a coyote or a raccoon or something like that at night, but you're right.
if it's moving. Yeah,
If it's moving, I'm not
right.
gonna, or if it's something out of the ordinary
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, a body would be out of the ordinary. I mean, I just don't, there's no
but
way.
you don't process it as a body. Your
Right.
unconscious mind
No,
is just going to see
it's a lump in the snow.
a
Yeah.
dark thing there. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. So that's what I thought too. What about when Lucky testified about seeing that Ford Edge parked out in front of 34 Fairview? And we do know that the Alberts owned a Ford Edge at the time. I thought that was kind of strange, but I attributed that to perhaps faulty memory.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously to the extent that you buy into something like that, it's troubling, right?
Yeah.
But to me, this is why I just try to focus on at all times on the better evidence and something. So I don't dismiss things like that, but this is why I've always had that problem with eyewitness testimony. Just at sometimes it seems to have come out in every case. As a prosecutor, you've probably seen it many times before, but certainly in a high profile case, it's much more prone to pop out. And
Right.
it ends up being something in these cases, there's always eyewitness to things that don't make sense, and you don't know where to put them. But
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, you'll never really explain them. And I think that was inevitable with any high profile case. There are just going to be some things that come out like this that at the end of the day you can't explain. So that's why I've always been consistent about focusing on the kind of evidence that is not open to interpretation. Either multiple eyewitnesses saw it, or it's physical evidence, or it's data, things like that. So that's
Yeah.
how I process. That's how I deal with evidence like this.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And by the way, Kevin, and a quick streaming question I have: where do you see the comments? Maybe I didn't turn it on.
So on the right, you have
Yeah,
private chat and comments. Do you see the private chat
private
on the?
chat I see.
So click comments, and it'll switch it over.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone out there. I haven't been seeing this is my first time, so forgive me. So I
Well, it's a
pressed.
good it's a good time while you're taking a break. We got to figure out your channel name. I want at least if you maybe you could link to it or send me a link to it. I
I
because
will.
I want to be able to make sure people can
I
subscribe to it.
appreciate that. But
I
now it
just
says two comments here, and I can't. Why can't I? Oh, there we go. Okay.
yeah.
Wow. These are my first comments ever. I don't know how you live stream and read comments at the same time, but I
It
appreciate
can be this.
everybody's comments.
It
You
can be
missed all the
distracting.
comments of how great you look. Oh, Marlene, thank you so much. And I really appreciate Kevin, you must be laughing at me. Kevin's been doing this a long time. I am what would you call me, a real newbie? Can you see the comments?
Oh yeah, I can see them. Yeah, but I've also well, the thing is, I may be seeing more than you because I went live on my channel, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
are all
I
your
know.
people.
Okay,
It's
okay, you
a
could.
crime, one word. Thanks, Dixie Doodles. It's a crime, one word. Isn't that sad that I can't even tell you what my channel's name is? Is that what you did, Kevin? You didn't do it's a crime. Did you do
I
all one
I
word?
I did multiple things, and I don't know. Can't you send me a link to it? Then I'll know it. I don't
Like,
know.
well, I can't. I'm live.
I well, no, you still can. I'll keep talking if you want.
Oh, thank you. All right. So,
I'm used to talking.
are you keep well, what topic are we gonna let's talk about all right, so the Ford Edge should have been towed. You're right. There was that whole little bit of testimony about the Ford Edge and what, and he did say, well, I didn't follow protocol and ask for it to be towed
Right.
because, um, he was a Boston cop. And you remember that part?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that? Like that?
Well, I mean, that makes sense to me as an
And I'll
explanation
send you my
because
link.
yeah, I'm still
Keep
searching for
going.
it too while I'm talking. We can also well, I can also tell people how I grew up in the town of Lawrence, Massachusetts, where Margaret was a prosecutor.
I
She
was.
has never charged me with a crime personally. Um, Fortunately, she's no longer there, so she can't charge me now. But Lawrence was I'm sure a great place to get your feet wet as a prosecutor. It kept you very busy there. When I was growing up, Lawrence was the car theft capital of the country
Oh,
per
yeah.
capita, and it was a pretty high crime year. We were on national TV at one point for race riots, um, and I remember I worked downtown Lawrence during that. Uh, I worked as like a stock boy at a men's clothing store, and it was interesting times. Interesting times. Actually, where I went to high school too, right out behind the school was a jail, a prison, an old. And this was one of those old prisons that was built during the Civil War. I mean, this thing literally was ancient. And we used to. There were
Sent it to
twice
you.
that we watched people escape from prison during homeroom, and eventually you'd be watching, and like one person would notice it, and you'd start cheering, and then eventually the homeroom teacher would come over and see everybody at the window cheering, and they'd call the police. But twice we saw people escape from the prison.
Yeah, there's something. By the way, Dr. Nagel said, "Kevin, your mic is on fire." There is something going on with you're hitting something and it's causing a noise. But
Is it
it's
still cause?
okay.
It's still causing it now?
Not now, but it's you're hitting something down here. I don't know what it
Oh,
would be. Thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
subscribing, Colleen. But anyway,
Yeah, I hate this. I'm gonna try to tape this or
yeah,
something. I
that-
don't know. It just came like this, and it's just a pain in the ass when it's dark like this. It shows up.
something, yeah.
It's it's got a little light on it, and
You
it.
look like you're a
I know,
yeah.
I don't know what else to
Looks
do
like
with
you
it
have a
though.
glowing mustache or
I
something.
know.
But I have to tell you my really quick Lawrence story when I was a prosecutor. Oh my God, you guys would love this one. So I was in charge of the juvenile unit, and that would be all the juvenile gangs and all that stuff. So there was this one police officer up in Lawrence. His name was Jose that I worked with. He was so nice. I thought he was great with the kids and all that stuff. So, we would work in tandem. I mean, obviously, we would try to get kids into programs and this and that if they got into trouble, etc. And he also was the dare officer for the school. So I, at the time, had a Mustang convertible that was my pride and joy. I loved it so much. It was like the best thing in the world. It was like, oh my God.
Mhm.
So anyway, it got stolen out of the courthouse parking lot. And I was so sad. I was like, oh my God. And what happened was the other police officers came up to me and they said, hey, we know how to find your car. And I said, how? And they said, ask Jose. Jose will get your car back for you. So, and hurry up and ask Jose before it goes into the chop shop. So I
Yeah.
did. I said, Jose, my car was stolen. I really need my car back. He goes, oh, it was? Okay, I'll take care of it. So I get my car back. It was recovered. And not only that, it was detailed.
Wow.
So,
All
yep.
right.
So then, fast forward a few years after that, I'm working in Boston as a civil defense attorney, doing like insurance defense work and all that. And I read in the Boston Globe, right, that Jose was arrested for being in the head of a big auto theft ring in Lawrence.
Oh, he must have been to get to, he wanted to do some favors for you. I woke up one morning and I got up early and I actually must have spooked them when they were trying to steal my car. So I managed to get out there before they stole it. But they had popped the ignition for that car for the next 2 years. I had to start it with a screwdriver.
Oh my God. I wouldn't even know how to do that. Oh,
Well,
that's
you're born in Lawrence knowing how to do
so
that. So
exactly. That would make sense. But Hank Brennan, going back to the trial, Hank Brennan was also an ADA out of Lawrence.
yeah.
So I didn't know him at the time. He was there just, I think, a year or so after me.
Mhm.
But we still talk about how we both came out of the trenches, out of the Lawrence District Court. And I'll tell you something, it really was the trenches. You learned so much as a prosecutor. You learned how to try cases. You were thrown to the fire, but
Yeah.
also there were great people up there. It was my favorite job of all, you know.
So where did you go after that? Did you continue as a prosecutor anywhere or
No, I did not. I sold out. I went to the civil defense side, so I never did criminal defense work, but I did all trial work in Boston, defending, gosh, I defended McDonald's, all sorts of Pizzeria Uno, all sorts of
yeah. Yeah.
insurance company claims and all.
Right.
But it was really interesting because I got, traumatic head injuries. So I would know a little something about John O'Keefe's
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to the trial, because I'm sure that's what everybody, yes, Jojo, Hank is masterful. I got to know Hank during the Whitey Bulger trial. So I was in court every day for that. And my Hank Brennan story is I was doing radio for WGBH and, all sorts of sideline stuff. And at one point, Hank was doing a cross examination. And I'm like, oh, God, Hank Brennan, sit down. You've made your point. So then the next morning, he came up to me and said, hi, I'm Hank Brennan. I sat down. I listened to you and I sat down. So it turns out he was listening every morning. And so after that, we make jokes about it. So I'll say, Hank Brennan, sit down, But I also will say I knew Dave Yannetti as well in the Middlesex DA's office, and I've always had respect for him as a lawyer. And I didn't know Jackson or anybody, but
Mhm.
it's a great team, both sides. You may
All right.
disagree with me, Kevin.
No, not at all. I'm still trying to make sure I can get. So it's a crime, one word.
It's a crime, one word. Would Margaret ever defend a guy like Turtle Boy Jailbreak? No, I wouldn't. Not at this point in my life. Maybe when I was young and starved for money. No, I'm kidding. Kevin's still trying to find me. Can somebody help Kevin find me?
I got it. I think I got it now. I got it.
Yannetti needs a Kleenex. I hope so.
All right.
There's Margaret's channel. Thank you.
I have just subscribed. I got it.
Thank you, Kevin. Awesome. All right. So any other ideas of let's talk about what to expect this week in the trial.
Okay. So
Did we
we know. Go ahead.
did we handle does anybody have any questions about the first topic? Was there enough time to plant evidence? If anybody has any questions, we can always go back to that.
And John Coxon posted the link to your channel. So thank you very much.
I really appreciate that. That's very helpful. Maybe I'll break 200.
Well, let's highlight that. No, I can't highlight it.
Can I highlight it? I'll probably
Yeah.
screw it up.
Yeah. You should be able to.
Oh, I'd screw it up though. I'd probably delete it accidentally.
No, you just
no way,
click it.
Jose.
Just click it. Just click it, and you should be able to. All right.
Oh, it's already gone up.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
many times can you get caught lying as a prosecutor on live stream? Brennan has the all-time record aside from ADA Love in Fulton County. Fulton County, where? I'm just curious. But so, you know, I'd like to discuss both sides. I actually don't think Hank Brennan has lied as a prosecutor. I do think that Hank Brennan does believe in his case, just like the defense believes in their side. So we obviously have two sides litigating this case. And he's presenting the evidence as he sees it, right?
Yeah.
Hired certain
What
experts.
lie? I don't.
I don't
What is it? What?
know. I don't know. But
I don't think sometimes people understand, at least on the FKR side, that a lie involves intent. I don't think they understand that because they say this kind
so
of thing all the time. They throw it out there as if somebody says something that they disagree with, it must be a lie. If somebody says something that is somehow a discrepancy from what they said before or is just factually wrong, but they meant it when they said it. This is like this came
yeah,
up in this trial with Kerry Roberts, um, where is it Roberts? Yeah, Kerry Roberts, John's
Carrie
friend there,
Roberts.
and
Yeah.
so Alan Jackson, using his bully tactics, got her to say, "I lied," but then she followed it up quickly by saying, "But it wasn't intentional." And
Right.
they jump all over it. See, she admitted she lied, and even some of the media did that. No, she didn't, because she said it wasn't intentional. You take the
Right.
intent out, it's not a lie.
Right.
I don't know why they don't
Right.
understand that, but
Yeah, that was in her grand jury testimony, yeah.
yeah,
Um, and again, witnesses will recall different things. Like I was on a jury, I served in a federal jury, and we went back to deliberate, and all 12 of us, we each had different versions of what actually happened during the trial. So
mhm,
if we both witnessed the same event, you and I, Kevin, would have a different version, I think.
right, right,
So
absolutely.
um, yeah, it's and the other thing I've discussed with some of my friends is, let me ask you, all of you, this. So I feel that there's no middle ground. You either think Karen's guilty or you think Karen is innocent and she was framed. I'm trying to cover it as neutrally as I can. I'm trying to see both sides. So but I feel like, do you feel the same way? There's hardly any middle ground in this case. It's either you're
Well, I
one.
mean, I was accused today, as I have been many times, of being FKR. So it's a strange accusation, right? And that's because I don't buy into everything that
Yeah,
the people that are against her do. I try to look at everything in an objective, neutral
right,
kind of way. And
right.
now at this point, I don't I am so someone else says, Don't you have an open mind on this case?" Well, I have an
Yeah,
open mind to things that aren't settled. Now, the fact that Karen's Lexus struck John is settled to me. I've seen enough evidence. There's no other plausible alternative. But there are individual elements of the case, including intent, including what Karen knew and when she knew it, that's not settled and probably never will be, because we'll never. That's your only. That's what's inside her head, and it's really difficult to know.
right.
But so so that's. I mean, you don't have to stay open on everything forever. So
No,
do you have to stay open on OJ forever? Do you have to stay open on 9/11 or JFK conspiracy forever? At some point, now, there are some cases you don't have enough evidence, and so maybe there's still an element of doubt or mystery. But in other things, there's really not. And so for me, this is not one of those cases that I'm open to another possible scenario. John didn't go in the house. No one else drove up and struck John. So,
yeah.
I'm not really open to anything uh, along those lines.
Can you imagine if
But
we had live streaming during OJ?
oh my God, yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, yeah. I was in LA for that. I
What?
saw. I didn't go to the trial, but I was in LA for that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You must have been a little kid, like 3?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I was my girlfriend at the time was out there. She had just joined customs.
Oh,
So she
okay.
was a Fed. See, I was not always against the Feds.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe that's where it started.
Yeah, there you go. That was where it started. So, what can we expect? I can't believe today's a day off. I feel like tomorrow's Saturday, but actually tomorrow we have court. It's Friday. What do we
Yeah.
expect tomorrow? And Karen Reed thinks that the defense will wrap up by Tuesday. So,
Yeah, it sounds like it. So we still have the ARCA guys, right?
yep.
I'm hearing that there's no Rich Green. I don't know if that's true or not, but it would seem amazing to me that we don't hear anything on data. And we went over. Kate read a recent motion that came in. So there does seem. So the feds hired some expert to look and to see if what do they look at to see if it's something to do with the data. And this was just came up like yesterday. And so it sounds like they're going to try to suggest the defense is going to try to suggest that the way John and others' phones were handled in this case, that none of the data can be trusted. So they're going to go after that.
Well,
Um,
that's odd.
it seems like it smacks of desperation, like because there's really no way to go after the analysis of Ian Whiffen and Jessica Hyde. You're going to put Rich Green up against them. So maybe
No.
the defense has decided not to. I don't know. I
So what
personally,
we're
if I was them, I would go with Rich Green if I were them. But
I think so. So by the way, just for people that don't know, I'm sure most of this knows, but Haas Long to Die in the Cold was Jen McCabe's Google search, and I think that's really what started a lot of this conspiracy theory because a report came out that showed Jen McCabe googling Haas Long to die in the cold, meaning how long to die in the cold, at 2:27 a.m. And that would have been, you know, that would have blown the case to smithereens if it was true. It would have proven the conspiracy theory because that would have shown that something happened inside the house at 34 Fairview.
yeah,
If that was before the body was even discovered. Instead, it showed what Ian Whiffen came out and Jessica Hyde said was Jen McCabe searched in an open tab at 6:23 in the morning
mhm,
when Karen asked her to Google how long does it take to die in the cold because she's there. There's John O'Keefe lying in the snow. He's not breathing, no pulse,
mhm,
and they're trying to revive him. So I think that it was very clear that Jen McCabe did search in an open tab. I think
yeah,
that was really established this time around. And Richard
mhm,
Green, who was the defense expert in the last trial, he actually called the help desk because he didn't really understand how to interpret the data
right.
from uh, Ian Whiffen's firm.
Mhm.
So,
And
uh,
it's established in other ways too. So
yeah,
even if you don't want to dig into the data, even if you don't want to accept the fact that Ian Whiffen, the senior forensic data and analyst from Celebrite, which is the company, which is the tool that they're all using, everybody on both sides and law enforcement uses all around the world. If you want to reject his testimony and you want to reject the testimony of Jessica Hyde, who's one of the top data analysts in the world, we also have other evidence. So the fact that Karen asked more or less the same question on the ambulance to a paramedic, how long could someone last in the cold? That confirms
yeah,
Jen McCabe's version of offense. And then just finally on that, does it really make sense to you that Jen McCabe in the car with her husband Matt, neither of them have committed a crime. They're
right,
going home. They have two passengers. They're bringing home Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, two adults. They're going home to their four little girls. All right. Does it make sense that they're going to go home, all four of those people in the car, knowing that the plan was to put John out, who is still alive, on the lawn to die?
right,
So Sarah Levinson, one of the people in the vehicle, is a nurse. Okay. Do these people think if John has actually been mauled by a dog and beat up, that no one's going to notice that? The medical examiner is not going to notice that. So that's the plan. All right. And they don't know that John's going to wake up. They don't know what's going to happen. So they're going home knowing,
right.
unless they're complete idiots, that they're likely going to spend the rest of their life in prison and their kids are not going to have parents. I mean, that's just like comic. Like it's just an ordinary act of self-preservation would tell you have to go to the police.
Right.
And it defies common sense to believe that Jen McCabe goes home and her husband. They don't call the police, and they're just Jen is casually doing this search while she's also researching her daughter's basketball league. And I'm sorry to be
Right.
disrespectful to some people in chat, but it ain't right in the head to believe things like that. It just ain't right. Sorry.
Right. Hey, guess what? I got 216 subscribers. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
There you go.
Kevin's laughing, but that's a lot for me. When you first start out
Yeah.
on YouTube,
It's
it takes
huge.
a long time to get subscribers. So
It's
yay.
huge.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
everyone.
I mean, the easy
Appreciate
way
it.
to get conspiracy is if you want to get them, just pretend you believe in the conspiracy theory, because
Yeah.
that's always going to be more popular.
Yeah.
Just like somebody does a video debunking a Bigfoot story, what's going to get more videos? That or the person who says they saw Bigfoot?
Exactly.
It's what's more interesting, right? And
Yeah.
that's just the law of that's just the law of it here. And
Yeah.
so we've seen this all over and over. People pop up with a YouTube. This is what's going on: is grifting at a large scale. Because none of in the way you can tell is none of those lawyers that are doing this even pretend to try to look at evidence from the other side. And so if you're
Right.
only covering something like this, an extremely unlikely conspiracy from one side, and you're not even looking at the evidence. So people here saying you got some people in chat saying Kevin is FKR, and you got some people saying that nobody's going to watch this guy. He's so biased. His channel's going to go away. I don't care. I'm not doing it to be watched by a million people. I give you the truth, and that's all I care about. I'm
Yeah.
not grifting on this. I'm not going to pretend. So
Right. That's
just to
same
give one,
here.
yeah, and just one quick example on that, Margaret. So there's a channel out there, young. I call him Young Jelly because he's a guy without a spine, and he was doing a channel on this, covering this case. His views went from the hundreds to the thousands overnight by covering this from the conspiracy side.
Yeah.
And this is Young Jerks, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
in late December of 2023, he went silent, I guess, for a week. I'd actually never seen his channel at the time, but I'd heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And Turtle Boy was on the run, and for whatever reason, maybe because Turtle Boy was in jail at that point, and this guy decided he was gonna. He had maybe a little bit of an epiphany. He was gonna cover this from both sides, and so I got a friend request from him on Facebook that morning. I was like, that's interesting. So I tune in, and everybody's tuned in, but the rumor had gone out that he had flipped. So the mob that was there in his chat was ready to be angry. And
Ah,
what he said was extremely reasonable. He sounded extremely reasonable. He said, I'm going to cover this case from now on from both sides. I'm going to be objective, and I'm going to try to cover things fairly. And he even said, I want to apologize to Kevin LENIHAN, who I said a lot of nasty things to. I hadn't seen them, but was watching it that day. And he goes, the one thing I disagree with Kevin on is that he says there's a mindless mob. He goes, that's what I disagree with. And then he, like almost on cue, he looked down and he saw chat. And that's when what did he see? The mindless mob. They were all attacking him. And he was like stunned. He's like, what's going on?
oh my
But
God.
Turtle Boy threatened him from jail, said, no more leaving. That's it. There'll be consequences. And he took the video down. That was one of the best videos he ever did. One where he promised to be objective. It's gone. And he went right back to grifting. And
Yeah.
so this is
Yeah.
the phenomenon that we're dealing with here.
And I think in the long run, people want honest content. I mean, as much as we can be, try to cover both sides. I think that's what people would probably like in the long run, right? They don't
Right.
want you to be slanted on what, like the next case that we cover,
Right.
right? They don't want us
Right.
to have our minds made up. I mean, what's the point of having a discussion? I like the discussion in chat from the other side. I
Right.
do like to have a meaningful discussion. So,
Right.
yeah,
I'm always open, and I still communicate to this day. I've always said people that are civil can reach out to me from the other side, and they
yep,
do. And over time, quite a few of them eventually flipped. I'm not saying because of me, but just if you keep someone looking, if they're still looking at the evidence, that's all you really want. If they're
yeah,
still, if they really want the truth, and they're actually still seeking, and they're still asking questions, they'll get there on their own. And that's the only way anybody can get to the truth is on their own, anyways. Is
yeah.
just
That's
keep
true.
asking the questions, keep asking if things make sense.
Right, right. Absolutely. So, what time is it? Oh, it's 3:44. I will have to end the chat. Not quite yet, but we'll or the live stream. I am thrilled to be saying my daughter's getting married in
Mm,
September, so I'm planning her shower at my house. So I have to meet with her maid of honor today. So that's important. That's why I keep looking at my time. Family's important, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
congratulations on that.
oh, thank you. I'm so excited. She's my oldest. She works in New York, so I'm
Mhm.
very proud of her, and it's exciting. So
All right, excellent. Well,
yeah.
I recommend that the ladies don't choose pink for their wedding party.
No, gosh. So she's having an evening wedding, and she chose uh her maid of honor or her what bridesmaids. She chose black for them, and of course
Mhm.
I said, black, really? And then she got all mad at me. So she's so like, I can't really say, so I don't know, that's what she chose, and she wants me to specifically wear like either, I don't know, champagne pink or something like that. I'm not, I have to say, I'm not going to get my dress until I lose a few pounds.
Oh, man.
The chat is probably like, Margaret, what are you talking about? Thank you so much for the congratulations. Oh, somebody
I'm
just
going the
said,
other way, trying to gain weight.
oh yeah, you are. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bailey. I appreciate that. Um, I just missed something in the chat. Black for bridesmaids. What do you think? I think it's kind of, I don't know, but whatever. God forbid if she. Let's hope she's not watching. I'll be she'll kill me, but she won't
I
be.
recommend yellow.
Yellow. Yeah, yellow's nice. Yellow cottage tails. That's
Exactly.
exactly. Yep. I like yellow. It stands out.
Yeah, I
So
don't think that would work too good, but
that's funny.
I
So
used to have
anyway,
my door guys wore black. I had them wear,
oh,
well, my staff we wore black shirts and at the
okay.
I like
Yeah.
that color.
Yeah. No, no, it is nice. It's slimming. I'd prefer to wear black because it's slimming, but I can't now. I have to wear something that probably you know, not be as slimming. But anyway, so tomorrow we'll be live streaming on your channel.
Yeah, well, and now you know how to connect it to your well, I hopefully you can connect it to your channel.
I can
Uh,
connect it to my channel tomorrow, early in the morning. You're going to laugh at me, and all these fans are going to say, "This woman's crazy." I'm actually going to go fishing early in the morning because it's my birthday and I like to fish.
oh, that's a great, like, time by yourself where you get to do all your thinking, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to be going out in Buzzards Bay, and
Oh,
the
okay,
stripers
awesome.
are in, so we'll be going
Yeah.
for striped bass tomorrow. So it'll be fun, and then I'll come back to join you live, and we'll talk about the trial. I can't wait.
I will not be here in the morning, but we will be
Okay.
streaming. I'll send you the link. Kate will
Yep.
be running it, and I will
Excellent.
be hopefully here in the afternoon.
Okay, excellent. And tomorrow, what do you think? What do you expect? I imagine ARCA.
If it is ARCA tomorrow, it's going to be exciting, right? This is, especially the cross, but the whole thing. We're going to see, are there going to be new? Supposedly, they've created some videos of testing that they've done. We'll see how convincing it is.
Yeah.
We should expect that a defense team is going to score their points too, and they have a little bit here. Is it
Yes.
enough that they've created doubt or knocked back the prosecution's case? I don't think yet, but they put a couple of dings in it, and but
Yeah, they did.
this will be the biggest thing. Is this in the data? So the data would be big too.
Exactly. So,
So
and hey, I appreciate everyone out there for joining me on my first official live stream where, I've got a guest and everything. And I figured out what am I on StreamYard?
yeah,
So I'll be doing a lot more of it. But I thank you so much, Kevin, for your help on that. I really appreciate it. And again, thanks for all the congratulations on my daughter and for all your wonderful comments. I appreciate the subscribers. I'm growing, which is a good thing.
yeah,
So
yeah. We'll keep plugging it. We'll keep plugging
yeah,
it.
yeah. Thank you so much, and everyone. Have a wonderful Thursday evening. Get out there and enjoy it. It's beautiful.
All right. Thank you for having me, Margaret. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, and thank you, everybody. So now I've got to end the stream. Aha, ending the stream. Thank you. Oops. Bye bye.